little guitar tutorial segment for you guys. So I also, by the way, Connor, I also feel like this topic is a little bit undercovered by most guitar-like teachers out there, and just videos on YouTube don't really talk about it too often. One of the ones that I will immediately refer to, and I suggest you look that up yourselves as well later if you want a more in-depth explanation, is a Joe Satriani video talking about muting, because he's quite famous for this legato technique, which is basically that sort of thing, when you're only using your left hand to essentially produce the sound. And what I'm doing, by the way, I'll immediately address this, what I'm doing to do something like this is kind of an essential component to muting. Yeah, let me get a little close up so you guys can really see what I'm doing. So if you're staying, there you go, we're staying on the high E string for this. And I don't know if you can see it, so I'm holding my pick as normal, but I'm using the side of my thumb, essentially, this part here, essentially. This part over here, kind of. I'm kind of resting it on the rest of the strings, and also using my pinky, which is a bit idiosyncratic for me, but some people I've seen do it this way as well. So, thumb on the side of the strings like here, on the lower strings, on the lower three, normally, and pinky kind of on the high strings, if you can. And then when I'm playing on the highest string, I'm obviously lifting the pinky so it sounds out, of course. But otherwise, the thumb, essentially right now, is muting all the other strings. I don't know if you can see. Okay, see how I'm holding it, right? It's basically right on the rest of them like this. So no sound will come out from the other strings. You see? Just the E string. Just the E string is sounding out. And for a single string muting, I think it's probably the most effective approach. Just use the side of your thumb. That really does work. For acoustic muting, that will also work just the same. But as I'm moving up, in this case, as I'm moving up the pitch, essentially, well, moving down the scale. What I tend to do is I use my middle finger here. I'm not gonna extend it because I don't want to flip you off, guys. But basically, as I move to the B string, the middle finger is touching the E string suddenly. You see this? Now the middle finger is on the E string. While the thumb naturally moves upwards to not cover the B string anymore, you see? And it's the same principle as I move down to the G string. Suddenly my middle and ring finger are both going to mute the E and the B string. Okay, you see? Satriani basically does it that way as well. He kind of refers to it as like a little finger dance on the right hand that he does to make sure that as he's legatoing, as he's using legato technique, that none of the other strings have a chance of sounding out. This is one of the elements of it that I really wanted to show, because I feel like besides Satriani, I haven't really heard anyone discuss it in that much depth and such detail, and it's very useful. But it's basically its own technical exercise. You essentially have to start thinking of your right hand as also an active participant in the playing, not just hitting the right string with the pick, but also being able to adjust it to the right string that you don't want muted. And that's the reason, usually when I'm playing like this, the other strings don't sound out. Otherwise, if we're talking about, let's say, a few other basic techniques that you need to know. So this I would call, the finger dance when you're trying to play just with your left hand. This is something really useful for that situation. If we're just doing our normal picking, so we're not doing legato anymore, we're just playing normally with a pick. Let me move back to this camera. It really is the same principle with the thumb, by the way. So the side of your thumb, so this section right here, this part of the thumb right here, should still stay on the strings that you're not playing. Yeah, you see how I'm holding it quite close to the strings? And I'm always making sure that when I'm, for instance, hitting a high string, that the rest of them, it's resting quite firmly. The thumb is resting quite firmly on the other strings. Another important element to this. So far we've covered the little finger dance, and we've also done the side of the thumb when picking. I also tend to do, something I already described in the very beginning. This little pinky move that I do. Let's say I'm on the lower strings right now. And And you see how I'm resting my hand. Essentially, my pinky finger is kind of resting on the higher strings. And if I lift it up and I play a bit more aggressively, you see there's going to be more finger noise because of that, more string noise because of that. But if I rest my pinky, it just kind of covers, at the very least, the high strings, like the E string, the B string, and the G string, kind of. And that allows me to reduce additional noise. This can be really useful. I'm not advocating that all of you do the same way. I've seen quite a few players specifically advise against that. They tend to have their hand kind of like this, essentially. So the pinky is not extended. They do it more like in this fashion. Yeah, let me again close up on this. Yeah, so it's more like a closed hand, essentially. But I think, to me at least, it's kind of inconvenient. I tend to tense up when I have my hand like this. And I still instinctively want to extend my pinky. To my mind, it allows me, again, muting. It allows me some muting, and it also allows me an extra anchor point, which is very important. That's like an additional thing for you guys to consider when you play guitar. For instance, I think most people just anchor their wrist right here, like this, and then they play from essentially, yeah, from this spot right here. You're kind of playing from this spot. You're kind of holding it to the body and playing. But I prefer having an extra anchor point, which is why I extend my pinky, which, aside from muting, also allows me to feel like I have essentially holding it from two spots. And notice something else here. As I'm moving down, let's say I'm moving up the scale, so all the way, yeah, let's say from the lower strings to the higher strings. Once I reach the high string, you see my pinky is on the body. Yeah, you can kind of see it. On the body of the guitar like this. I'll try to exaggerate this. And as I'm moving down, you see it kind of lifts up like this and goes up. So it basically continues muting the entire time. That's kind of one of the things that I found really useful for myself and I think really works. Steve Vai used to pick exactly like this earlier. He later changed his technique, but if you see his earlier videos, you can literally see the pinky just sticking out like that. He just always had it like that, like in his early 20s. I remember seeing videos with Alcatraz, him doing it that way. So yeah, so far we've done, what have we done? We've done the finger dance thing. So again, close up once again. The finger dance for legato. To make sure you move them to the right strings. That kind of thing. That's for legato specifically. Also remembering, once again, remembering the side of the thumb. There you go. Yes, so you see, it's kind of resting on there when you're playing, essentially. Also, yeah, we just talked about the pinky thing. If it's convenient for you guys, try doing that as well. So make sure you have your pinky resting on the high strings. And also something I really would like to address. I feel like more guitar teachers talk about this still, but I would like to address this point as well. It's important not to neglect your left hand as well, because we're just focusing right now on the picking hand, but your fretting hand is also essential to the muting process. So if you can, try to pay attention to how you rest your finger on the strings. Like for instance, if you're playing on the E string, right, high string right here, you see how the top of my index finger, you could basically say like the very tip right here, this section kind of here, it's sort of resting on the B string when I do this. It's kind of lightly touching the B string. I'm not sure if it's very visible, but you see it? Yeah, it's kind of slightly touching the B string. It's not fretting it. I'm fretting the A note right here. But the tip is slightly touching the B string. That basically provides you with some additional muting as well. Yeah, you see the B string is not sounding out because the index finger is touching it. That's something also quite important, I find. And the same concept applies when you're on the low strings. You try to make sure that that this section of your finger, either your index or any other finger that you're going to be using, is kind of resting on the other strings. So you see, like, in this case, you can see it. It's not just like this. It's more like this. Which sometimes is very undesirable. If you're playing chords, you want to specifically avoid that motion. When you're playing chords, you gotta make sure your fingers are arched, right? So all the notes sound out. But if you're doing a lead line with a lot of distortion and you want to make sure your notes come out cleanly, it's better to have a bit of a touch there with the tip of your finger touching the adjacent string. Pretty much, and that should apply to every finger. That's the main ideas right there, basically. And if you're somewhere in the middle, it's kind of an in-between thing. If you're in the middle of the fretboard, let's say you're on the D string, let's say here. So again, the tip of the index finger will be muting the A string, and the rest of the fingertip will be muting the G string. So you see? So I hope this is clear enough as an explanation. I know it's a bit of a blitz, but that was the idea. So yeah, now we're just about reached 10 minutes actually with this explanation. So yeah, to recap, we were looking at basically, I think, 4 or 5 distinct techniques. So, finger dance for legato, which is the most advanced one, but if it's useful to you, it certainly will be really, really quite convenient, really an important technique to nail down if you do a lot of legato on guitar. So this finger dance is number 1. Paying attention to the side of your thumb is number 2. Using your pinky if you believe that's convenient for you, that's number 3. And also paying attention to how your fingertips and the side of your finger works when you're moving between strings. Yeah, pretty much. So essentially, yeah, 4 or 5 techniques, something like that. Crispy, thank you for saying that. I think I will consider doing it. Right now, I still feel like it's a bit of a word salad coming from me. I feel like I could do it a little bit more organized. But otherwise, yeah, I just wanted to share this wisdom with you guys, because I spend quite a lot of time. You can tell, I'm quite aware of what I'm doing with this stuff. And I genuinely hope that it actually helps you and you're able to take away something from this little mini tutorial and apply it to your playing. Yeah.